Hi everybody, welcome to Sunday's story time of the Good Old Days. I'm going to be reading from the Good Old Days series books, and I'm going to start tonight with one that I don't think a whole lot of people may have in my collection. It's called We Survived and Thrived, and this is what that book looks like, if you can see that without the glare. I didn't necessarily want to read from the book of We Didn't Have Money, but you know what I mean. Oh, I forgot the title of that one. But anyway, most people have that one. So I wanted to start with one that I thought maybe not a lot of people had. So that'll be the first story. And the second one from the Good Old Days series is On the Farm. Let's see if I can tilt this. On the Farm. And that's what I read from the last story time. I read 2 stories out of here. So we will start tonight with We Survived and Thrived. Come here, babies. Let's get all settled in and cozy. We're getting freezing rain. We're getting snow and hail. It's terrible. I was so ready for spring to be here. Okay, let's see here. Trying to find a good one. We're going to start with Something Out of Nothing. And I want to hold this up for you so you can see the photo. Whoops, wrong way. Something from Nothing. Back in the late 1920s and early 1930s, when I was a youngster, being thrifty was very much a part of the times. Pennies were counted and nothing was discarded until it was beyond salvaging. Besides me, my family consisted of Dad, Mom, 5 sisters, and 4 brothers. Dad was a good provider, but it took a lot of providing to keep all of us properly fed, clothed, and housed. Nevertheless, my parents both worked hard to make our life a pleasant one. I remember delightful times when Mom made something out of nothing. Sometimes she used something from the closet in the downstairs bedroom that she used for a sewing room. The little room was a catch-all, with baskets of clothes waiting to be ironed, piles of clothes to be mended. It also was a good place to hide goodies until the proper time. The closet in the little room was heaped brimful and running over, as the old-timers would say, with used clothes and finery that Mom and our relatives had passed on to be used again. An old trunk was filled with old clothes, and other old garments were piled on shelves and stored with the ribbons, laces, and doodads in old pillowcases. What fun it was to watch Mom haul out the fancy dresses and plush velvets from the closet when my sisters or I teased for a new dress or a skirt for a special occasion. Mom really got carried away with a beautiful long black skirt with gold and green lines down its full length. It had been hers long ago, and she was particularly fond of it. We had been asking for something new to wear to the Christmas program in our little country schoolhouse, so she searched the closet and came up with the skirt. It didn't look like anything that would look good on a little girl, so we weren't too enthusiastic. But there was a gleam in Mom's eyes. Maybe she would work her magic with the sewing machine and come up with something that wouldn't be too bad. After ripping out the seams, cleaning and pressing the material, she was all set to go on her new project. Draping fabric on the dining room table, she got out her large shears and began snipping. 3 adorable black skirts and rows of stripes came out of the material that had once been one, and each was different. On one, the rows of stripes were inside the pleats. On another, the stripes were on the outside, and with the solid black inside the pleats. And my little sister's skirt had the stripes running horizontally. When we wore our new skirts with fresh white blouses and tiny black bows to the school entertainment, we felt like fairy princesses and received many compliments. Mom's something out of nothing had made us very happy. It made Mom happy too, for she took great pride in making do with what we had. If she wanted something, she got busy looking for a way to provide it without having to buy it brand new. She could come up with almost anything we wanted, whether it was a petticoat or extra fruit jars or perhaps a hat to wear to a funeral. She would search the house, and if she didn't have what she wanted, she would suggest something else. There wasn't much money around in those times, and Mom said it was foolish to squander money on something new when you could make do with what you already had. She salvaged clothing by passing it down until it was really shot. If our boots were sometimes too large, she said that they were better that way. In fact, I still think everyone should buy boots several sizes too large, as I remember Mom saying, the bigger the better. Mom made patchwork quilts from the scraps left over from her sewing. Sometimes they were from new fabric, but often they were not. It didn't matter, as long as they were bright and colorful. Pajamas were sometimes made from the good parts of worn-out sheets and tablecloths that were beginning to show wear and could be used for dinner napkins. Large bath towels and hand towels made nice washcloths when the ends frayed. Worn parts were cut from large baskets and sheets, and presto, there were the makings of a crib sheet or a blanket. With the addition of her colorful binding, it looked like a brand new blanket for only a few pennies. Mom made new coats out of old coats. Taking a coat that had been one of our aunt's, she would begin cutting in the early morning, and by nightfall come up with the child's beautiful coat with matching leggings and hat, ready except for the finishing touches, such as buttonholes, buttons, and tacking on a little fur collar. Feed bags made great dish towels. The colorful printed ones were used for pretty aprons, luncheon sets, blouses, house dresses, and children's pants and skirts. Sometimes there was a calamity when Mom started making a garment out of a feed bag and it looked like there wouldn't be enough fabric. She would get on the crank telephone and call around to see if anyone else had the same color and pattern. Feed bags were traded around the neighborhood quite frequently in those days. At Christmas time, Mom would make baby bibs from discarded towels, adding colorful bindings around the edges. She would turn out colorful pot holders from scraps. Pillow tops were made from circles of satin, taffeta, and flowered crepe. They were beautiful, and almost every home had one on the parlor sofa. Almost everything went into her rag rugs when it could no longer be used for anything else. We could pick out the fabric from a favorite dress, blouse, or shirt as she looked at the finished product on the floors of our old farmhouse. Mom salvaged our discarded dolls, too. She would patch them up and add a perky new outfit, and soon the doll would be back in some little girl's arms. Mom was handy with a hammer and nails, as well as a saw. She often repaired forgotten sleds, wagons, and other toys for our younger cousins or the neighborhood kids. They were as proud of the secondhand stuff as they would have been of a brand new toy from the store in town or the Sears Roebuck and Company or Montgomery Ward catalogs. If a kid didn't have a rope for his or her hand sled, Mom would cut off a chunk from one of her older clotheslines and had been stored in the back room in case of an emergency. Jump ropes for my sister, girlfriends, and neighborhood pals came off Mom's old clotheslines too. One day a neighbor lady wheeled her baby over in a baby carriage. When Mom saw that she didn't have a warm baby blanket, Mom cut a chunk out of an old blanket from her rag bag and zipped it up on the sewing machine in nothing flat. It looked like new and did the trick. She even brought out an old net curtain to protect the baby from the flies and the mosquitoes. No matter who came to our house, if they had a hole in their shoe or boot, Mom would search the house until she came up with a pair that would fit. And if a sweater or stocking cap or mittens were called for, Mom would happily supply them. Mom taught us how to make sewing baskets and tote bags out of empty oatmeal boxes by gluing pretty scraps of fabric on the outside of the boxes. Velvet scraps glued onto candy boxes made attractive holders for jewelry or keepsakes. Pin cushions of all sizes and shapes were easy projects for beginners. Mom would make a pattern, and all our small fingers would try to follow the outline, snipping until it looked just right, then basting and finally sewing. Last came the trimming, sometimes with bits of lace. Rainy or frigid, snowy days brought out the best in Mom's creativity. perhaps to keep us busy while we were shut up indoors so that she could peacefully get some of her endless household chores out of the way. It always did her heart a world of good to see something out of nothing. Okay, I like this book a lot. Okay, now we're going to read a story from the good old days on the farm. So let me open it up here. And I think I'll start in the back. We're going to read a story that's called Wash Day. And then it has this picture in the back of the book. Okay? This story is by Eleanor L. Brown. Wash Day on the farm when I was a child was a day to remember. Monday was religiously observed for Wash Day as Sunday was for the Sabbath. Many times preparations for the day were made the night before. We placed the boiler under the pump spout and hand-pumped water into it until it was about a third full. 2 of us carried the boiler of water into the house and lifted it to the top of the cook stove. We finished filling the boiler with buckets of water. On Monday morning, Mama rose early to start the fire in the stove, burning cobs and wood to heat the water to nearly boiling. When the water was partially hot, Mother would pull in part of a can of lye to break the water, as we called it. This created a scum on top of the water, which was lime, and other materials or dirt. This was skimmed off, then homemade lye soap was added. In the summertime, we washed on the porch, so this meant dipping water out of the boiler and carrying it safely to fill the washing machine. We kids had to stay around close to take our turn powering the washing machine. We filled the rinse tubs with clear, cold water from the well, and the washing was ready to start. The machine was loaded, first with white clothes that were the least soiled. The machine was the kind with a semicircular tub with a handle in the center for tossing the machine back and forth to develop suction within it. It was a tiring chore to toss the machine back and forth for about 15 minutes for each load of our clothes. The clothes were then put through the hand-turned wringer into the rinse waters. By the time 5 or 6 loads of clothes were washed through the wash water and rinsed, the last ones conveyed a tint of tattletale gray. The best clothes were hung on the clothesline, but the overalls and dark clothes usually ended up flung over the garden fence. Nearly, regardless of the weather, the clothes were hung outdoors. In the winter, Mother always depended on them to freeze dry. She would bring them in, frozen, nearly stiff as boards sometimes, and hang them on the backs of chairs in front of the oven or around the pot-bellied heating stove. We had no basement to hang them in. If the weather was cooperative, Mother tried to iron much of the flat work on wash day. This meant building a hot fire in cold or hot weather and heating the irons on top of the stove. She would remove one iron at a time with a wooden-handled clamp and iron fast before the iron got cold and had to be exchanged for a hot one. We usually tested the iron on a piece of paper to be sure it wasn't too hot. For many, many years, Mother did not have an ironing board, and how she longed for one. She ironed on a padded table leaf on top of the dining room table. Those were days when wash day took a lot of energy and little thought was given to social activities. Most of the time and physical energies were expended in the daily work of housekeeping and caring for one's family. And then the ad of the picture that I showed you said, giving your washing machine the benefit of naphtha. Real naphtha, that marvelous dirt loosener used by professional dry cleaners, cannot be obtained in prepared flake form. The only way, therefore, to give your washing machine the benefit of naphtha is to make your own Felsnappa flakes or soap paste as needed on wash day. Do this for cleaner clothes. Wet the clothes and either shave the Felsnappa directly into the washing machine or make a soap paste using your usual amount of soap. Let them soak a few minutes. The real naphtha will go through every thread. loosen the dirt for the sudsy water to finish away. Then vanish, leaving the clothes clean, sweet, and sanitary. No matter how you wash clothes, Felsnappa will wash them cleaner, more quickly, safely, and thoroughly. For Felsnappa is more than soap. It is more than soap and naphtha. It is the exclusive Felsnappa blend of splendid soap and real naphtha in a way that brings out the best in these two great cleaners. Directions are inside each wrapper. And they still sell that at the stores today. If I have a video on my channel that, I grate up either Felsnappa bar or Zote soap and mix it in with some other, baking soda washing powder. I have a video on it. I also have a video showing you making lye soap, homemade lye soap. So if you're interested in watching that, be sure to tune in to the other videos that are on my channel. Okay guys, well for this Sunday, that's our 2 stories. I'm just going to stick to 2 stories each Sunday. I don't want to make the video so long that you guys are bored and nobody watches it from beginning to end. I'm noticing, looking at the analytics on my channel, that people are only watching my videos up to 3.5 minutes. That's kind of depressing because of all the work that goes into filming and editing and using special graphics to try to make it more pleasing to the eye, and people are only watching 2 to 3.5 minutes of it. So I'm just going to start keeping them shorter, and I'm not going to work as hard because it's not worth it if people aren't going to watch it from start to finish. And because my channel is small, I would greatly appreciate it if you would talk to other people and other friends on YouTube communities and suggest my channel to help grow. And I will see you again for next Sunday's story time of the good old days. Have a great weekend, everybody.